heals all thy diseases, who redeems thy life from destruction, who crowns thee with loving kindness and tender mercies, who satisfies thy mouth with good things, so that thy youth is renewed like the eagles. Yahweh execute righteousness and judgment for all that are oppressed. He made known his ways unto Moshe, his acts unto the children of Israel. Yahweh is merciful and gracious, slow to anger, and plenteous in mercy. He will not always chide, neither will he keep his anger forever. He has not dealt with us after our sins, nor rewarded us according to our iniquity.
Right, because if he did, the way we have to understand that the wages of sin, singular, is death. And all of us have sinned and come short of Yahweh's glory. And like Paul said, if any man say he don't have sin, he's a liar and the truth is not in him. But go ahead and read, brother.
Psalms 103, verse 11. For as the heaven is high above the earth, so great is his mercy toward them that fear him. As far as the east is from the west, so far hath he removed our transgressions from us. Like as a father pitieth his children, so Yahweh pitieth them that fear him. For he knows our frame, he remembers that we are dust. As for man, his days are as grass. As the flower of the field, so he flourisheth. For the wind passes over it, and it is gone, and the place thereof shall know it no more. But the mercy of Yahweh is from everlasting to everlasting upon them that fear him, and his righteousness unto children's children, to such as keep his covenant, and to those that remember his commandments to do them. Yahweh hath prepared his throne in the heavens, and his kingdom ruleth over all. Bless Yahweh, you his angels that excel in strength, that do his commandments, hearkening unto the voice of his word. Bless you, Yahweh, all you his hosts, you ministers of his that do his pleasure.
Regardless of what happens on the earth, bless Yahweh with your soul at all times, simply because regardless of what the situation is, you're still alive, aren't you? Well, if you're alive, you can fight another day. Psalms 107, and pick that up at verse 1, brother.
Psalms 107, verse 1. Oh, give thanks unto Yahweh, for he is good, for his mercy endureth forever. Let the redeemer of Yahweh say so, whom he hath redeemed from the hand of the enemy, and gathered them out of the lands from the east and from the west, from the north and from the south. They wandered in the wilderness in a solitary way. They found no city to dwell in. Hungry and thirsty, their soul fainted in them. Then they cried unto Yahweh in their trouble, and he delivered them out of their distresses. And he led them forth by the right way, that they might go to a city of habitation. Oh, that men would praise Yahweh for his goodness and for his wonderful works to the children of men. For he satisfieth the longing soul and fills the hungry soul with goodness. Such as sit in darkness and in the shadow of death, being bound in affliction and iron, because they rebel against the words of Elohim and contemn the counsel of the Most High. Therefore he brought down their heart with labor. They fell down, and there was none to help. Then they cried unto Yahweh in their trouble, and he saved them out of their distresses.
And when you consider that, we understand that the Lake Pontchartrain flooded over into Louisiana, because New Orleans, because it sits down in a bowl. But it could have been worse than that. It could have covered all of the buildings and killed all of the people in the city. We got to understand a Cat 4 hurricane went through there. And a lot of some of y'all may not know the power of hurricanes, because some of you may not never lived in the state of Florida. But when them winds come through there, folks get to higher ground. Folks get to, even the poor of the people get to higher ground. But folks decided that they was going to stay in the city and ride it out when the mayor had already said, evacuate the city. Okay, so if you stayed, you had to receive the wrath of Lucifer that was coming up in that city. Go ahead and read, brother.
Verse 14. He brought them out of darkness and the shadow of death and broke their bands in sunder. All that men would praise Yahweh for his goodness and for his wonderful works to the children of men. For he hath broken the gates of brass and cut the bars of iron in sunder. Fools, because of their transgression and because of their iniquities, are afflicted. Their soul abhorreth all manner of meat, and they draw near unto the gates of death. Then they cry unto Yahweh in their trouble, and he saves them out of their distresses. He sent forth his word and healed them, and delivered them from their destructions. All that men would praise Yahweh for his goodness and for his wonderful works to the children of men. And let them sacrifice the sacrifices of thanksgiving and declare his works with rejoicing. They that go down to the sea in ships, that do business in great waters, these see the works of Yahweh and his wonders in the deep. For he commands and raises the stormy wind, which lift up the waves thereof. They mount up to the heavens, they go down again to the depths. Their soul is melted because of trouble. They reel to and fro and stagger like a drunken man, and are at their wits' end. Then they cry unto Yahweh in their trouble, and he brings them out of their distresses. He maketh the storm a calm, so that the waves thereof are still. Then are they glad because they be quiet, so he brings them unto their desired haven. All that men would praise Yahweh for his goodness and for his wonderful works to the children of men. Let them exalt him also in the congregation of the people, and praise him in the assembly of the elders. He turns rivers into a wilderness, and the water springs into dry ground, a fruitful land into barrenness, for the wickedness of them that dwell therein.
This is why we see this major destruction. Do you all know that after Las Vegas, that the Big Easy, as they call it, is one of the most sinful cities in this country? City. Okay, go ahead and read, brother.
Verse 35. He turns the wilderness into a standing water, and the dry ground into water springs. And there he makes the hungry to dwell, that they may prepare a city for habitation, and sow the fields and plant vineyards, which may yield fruits of increase. He blesses them also, so that they are multiplied greatly, and suffers not their cattle to decrease. Again, they are diminished, and brought low through oppression, affliction, and sorrow. He pours contempt upon princes, and causes them to wander in the wilderness, where there is no way. Yet setteth he the poor on high from affliction, and makes them families like a flock. The righteous shall see it and rejoice, and all iniquity shall stop her mouth. Whoso is wise and will observe these things, even they shall understand the loving kindness of Yahweh.
Amen. You're not dead, so understand the loving kindnesses of Yahweh. And when we look Psalms 89, brother, and when you look around, when you really look at what's happening down in that city, folks are trying to help other folks, and they got fools around there shooting at the people that's trying to help. See, and as far as the looting is concerned, the same thing would happen here in Atlanta. If they have a catastrophe in Atlanta, folks are going to eat. And when this gives us an overview of what we can look for when Yahweh snatched this economic rug from under us. We think that we're doing bad now. Just wait. Just wait. Go ahead, brother. Psalms 89, verse 1.
I will sing of the mercies of Yahweh forever. With my mouth will I make known thy faithfulness to all generations. For I have said, mercy shall be built up forever. Your faithfulness shall you establish in the very heavens. I have made a covenant with my chosen. I have sworn unto David my servant. Your seed will I establish forever, and build up your throne to all generations. And the heavens shall praise thy wonders, O Yahweh, thy faithfulness also in the congregation of the saints. For who in the heaven can be compared unto Yahweh? Who among the sons of the mighty can be likened unto Yahweh? Elohim is greatly to be feared in the assembly of the saints, and to be had in reverence of all them that are about him.
Verse 38, brother.
But you have cast off and abhorred. You have been angry with your anointed. You have made void the covenant of your servant. You have profaned his crown by casting it to the ground. You have broken down all his hedges. You have brought his strongholds to ruin. All that pass by the way spoil him. He is a reproach to his neighbors. You have set up the right hand of his adversaries. You have made all his enemies to rejoice. You have also turned the edge of his sword, and have not made him to stand in the battle. You have made his glory to cease, and cast his throne down to the ground. The days of his youth have you shortened. You have covered him with shame. How long, Yahweh? Will you hide yourself forever? Shall your wrath burn like fire? Remember how short my time is. Why have you made all men in vain? What man is he that lives and shall not see death? Shall he deliver his soul from the hand of the grave? Adonai, where are your former loving kindnesses, which you sweareth unto David in your truth? Remember, Adonai, the reproach of your servants, how I do bear in my bosom the reproach of all the mighty people, wherewith your enemies have reproached, O Yahweh, wherewith they have reproached the footsteps of your anointed. Blessed be Yahweh forevermore. Amen and amen.
Amen and amen. As we see, brothers and sisters, it's not just when these calamities come upon man, it's not just something that's taking place. Yahweh is wreaking havoc upon this earth. Simply because it's time. He's trying to get our attention. It's time for our deliverance. We haven't got time to play the games that we've been playing, because this thing is hitting closer and closer to home. What are we going to do when things come up on Atlanta? Brother Steve, why don't you go ahead and read the oracles of the church, and invite him who stands at the door that he may come in and sup with us and us with him, that we may continue to read out of this great legacy and consider what we read, because our God truly is on the march.
I'm going to read the oracles of the church beginning at 1 Peter chapter 4, verses 7 through 11. But the end of all things is at hand. Be you therefore sober, and watch unto prayer. And above all things have fervent love among yourselves, for love shall cover the multitude of sins. Use hospitality one to another without grudging. As every man have received a gift, even so minister the same one to another, as good stewards of the manifold grace of Elohim. If any man speak, let him speak as the oracles of Elohim. If any man minister, let him do it as of the ability which Elohim gives, that Elohim in all things may be glorified through Yeshua HaMashiach, to whom be praise and dominion forever and ever. Amen. Ephesians chapter 4, verse 29. Let no corrupt communication proceed out of your mouth, but that which is good to the use of edifying, that it may minister grace unto the hearers. And grieve not the Holy Spirit of Elohim, whereby you are sealed unto the day of redemption. Let all bitterness and wrath and anger and clamor and evil speaking be put away from you with all malice. And be you kind one to another, tender-hearted, forgiving one another, even as Elohim, for the anointed one's sake, have forgiven you. Be you therefore followers of Elohim as dear children, and walk in love, as the anointed one also have loved us, and have given himself for us an offering and a sacrifice to Elohim for a sweet-smelling savor. But fornication and all uncleanness, all covetousness, let it not be once named among you as becometh saints, neither filthiness, nor foolish talking, nor jesting, which are not convenient, but rather giving of thanks. Revelations chapter 3, verses 20 through 22. Behold, I stand at the door and knock. If any man hear my voice and open the door, I will come into him, and will sup with him, and he with me. To him that overcomes will I grant to sit with me in my throne, even as I also overcame, and am set down with my Father in his throne. He that have an ear, let him hear what the Spirit says unto the church.
Praise Yah. He that has an ear, let him hear what the Spirit says to the church and Holy Convention. When we consider the earth's estate in these latter days and understand the reason why Yeshua has come unto us, surely we see that it's because of our Father's love for his chosen people of the children of Israel and those that he has already decreed should receive salvation. Not just his chosen, but like I said, also to those called of the nations that Yahweh Elohim created also. Being of the salt of the earth, we've been charged with the glorious mission, Israel, just as all the holy seeds were called to their purpose. So to aid us in our task, he that ascended on high has given us gifts to fight a war against spirits. This is why we are taught to see and understand our purpose, because of the foundation that we are building upon. But to be faithful in these works requires commitment to our Elohim, whose tabernacle is in heaven, and obedience to his word that teaches us how we must walk. Yirmiyahu chapter 18 and verse 7 through verse 10. Jeremiah chapter 18 and verse 7 through verse 10.
Verse 7. At what instant I shall speak concerning a nation and concerning a kingdom, to pluck up and to pull down and to destroy it, if that nation against whom I have pronounced turn from their evil, I will repent of the evil that I thought to do unto them. And at what instant I shall speak concerning a nation and concerning a kingdom, to build and to plant it, if it do evil in my sight, that it obey not my voice, then I will repent of the good wherewith I said I would benefit them.
Okay, my brother, Isaiah chapter 8 and verse 9 through chapter 9 and verse 8. Isaiah chapter 8 and verse 9 through chapter 9 and verse 8.
Verse 9, associate yourselves, O you people, and you shall be broken in pieces. And give ear, all you of far countries. Gird yourselves, and you shall be broken in pieces. Gird yourselves, and you shall be broken in pieces. Take counsel together, and it shall come to naught. Speak the word, and it shall not stand. For Elohim is with us. For Yahweh spoke thus to me with a strong hand, and instructed me that I should not walk in the way of this people, saying, say you not a confederacy to all them to whom this people shall say a confederacy. Neither fear you their fear, nor be afraid. Sanctify Yahweh of hosts himself, and let him be your fear, and let him be your dread. And he shall be for a sanctuary, but for a stone of stumbling, and for a rock of offense to both the houses of Israel, for a gin and for a snare to the inhabitants of Jerusalem. And many among them shall stumble and fall and be broken and be snared and be taken. Bind up the testimony, seal the law among my disciples. And I will wait upon Yahweh that hide his face from the house of Jacob, and I will look for him. Behold, I and the children whom Yahweh have given me are for signs and for wonders, in Israel from Yahweh of hosts, which dwells in Mount Sion. And when they shall say unto you, seek unto them that have familiar spirits, and unto wizards that peep and that mutter. Should not a people seek unto their Elohim for the living to the dead?
And people aren't doing that. What people are doing, people are looking around for the government to come in and help them instead of seeking to the creator of all things. But go ahead and read, brother.
Verse 20. To the law and to the testimony. If they speak not according to this word, it is because there is no light in them. And they shall pass through it, hardly be stead and hungry. And it shall come to pass that when they shall be hungry, they shall fret themselves and curse their king and their God and look upward. And they shall look unto the earth and behold trouble and darkness, dimness of anguish, and they shall be driven to darkness. Nevertheless, the dimness shall not be such as was in her vexation, when at the first he lightly afflicted the land of Zebulun and the land of Naphtali, and afterwards did more grievously afflict her by the way of the sea beyond Jordan and Galilee of the nations. The people that walk in darkness have seen a great light. They that dwell in the land of the shadow of death, upon them have the light shine. Thou hast multiplied the nation and not increased the joy. They joy before you according to the joy in harvest, and as men rejoice when they divide the spoil. For thou hast broken the yoke of his burden, and the staff of his shoulder, the rod of his oppressor, as in the day of Midian. For every battle of the warrior is with confused noise and garments rolled in blood, but this shall be with burning and fuel of fire. For unto us a child is born, unto us a son is given, and the government shall be upon his shoulder, and his name shall be called Wonderful, Counselor, the Mighty Elohim, the Everlasting Father, the Prince of Peace. Of the increase of his government and peace there shall be no end upon the throne of David and upon his kingdom, to order it and to establish it with judgment and with justice from henceforth even forever. The zeal of Yahweh of hosts will perform this. The Adonai sent a word into Jacob, and it have lighted upon Israel.
Amen. Verse 19 says, and when they say unto you, seek unto them that have familiar spirits, and unto wizards that peep and mutter, should not a people seek unto their Elohim for the living to the dead, to the law and to the testimony? If they speak not according to this word, it is because there is no light in them. And they shall pass through it hardly, be stead and hungry. And it shall come to pass that when they shall be hungry, they shall fret themselves and curse their king and their God and look upward. And they that shall look upon unto the earth and behold trouble and darkness, dimness of anguish, and they shall be driven into darkness. Surely, we see the signs manifested in the natural disasters like the current Gulf States calamities left by the wrath of Katrina, one of Yahweh's weapons of wars. The cost of living index has jumped to financial disaster, especially to those who commute, and some will lose their needed income. Fewer and fewer shoppers are out and about, and the future of affording mere necessities is getting dimmer. And as a people, along with the land, all the poor and needy are going to groan in this thing that's getting ready to come upon our people. Yet, the stock markets are profiting, and the prosperity doctrine of the Christian churches have them busting and overflowing with memberships. But for the first time since America took their independence from her mother in 1776, Miss Liberty has literally thousands of refugees from among her own people to add to the growing number of homeless people that's already in this country. Yirmiyahu chapter 50 in verse 1 through chapter 51 in verse 58. Jeremiah chapter 50 and verse 6, through chapter 51 and verse 68.
Verse 6. My people have been lost sheep. Their shepherds have caused them to go astray. They have turned them away on the mountains. They have gone from mountain to hill. They have forgotten their resting place. All that found them have devoured them, and their adversaries said, we don't offend, because they have sinned against Yahweh, the habitation of justice, even Yahweh, the hope of their fathers. Remove out of the midst of America, and go forth out of the land of the Aryans, and be as the he-goats before the flock.
Be leaders before the flock, right? Go ahead, brother.
Verse 9. For lo, I will raise and cause to come up against America an assembly of great nations from the north country, and they shall set themselves in array against her. From thence she shall be taken. Their arrows shall be as of a mighty expert man. None shall return in vain. And the land of the Aryans shall be a spoil. All that spoil her shall be satisfied, says Yahweh. Because you were glad, because you rejoice, O you destroyers of mine heritage, because you have grown fat as the heifer at grass, and bellow as bulls, your mother shall be sore confounded. She that bare you shall be ashamed. Behold, the hindermost of the nations shall be a wilderness, a dry land, and a desert. Because of the wrath of Yahweh, it shall not be inhabited, but it shall be wholly desolate. Everyone that goes by America shall be astonished and hiss at all her plagues. Put yourselves in array against America round about. All you that bend the bow, shoot at her, spare no arrows, for she hath sinned against the Most High. Shout against her round about. She hath given her hand. Her foundations are fallen, her walls are thrown down, for it is the vengeance of Yahweh. Take vengeance upon her, as she have done, do unto her. Cut off the sword from America, and him that handles the sickle in the time of harvest. For fear of the oppressing sword, they shall turn every one to his people, and they shall flee every one to his own land.
So we know that this thing is going to go down in the fall of the year, right? Go ahead, brother.
Verse 17. Israel is a scattered sheep. The lions have driven him away. First, the king of Assyria have devoured him, and last, this Nebuchadnezzar, king of Iraq, have broken his bones. Therefore, thus says Yahweh of hosts, the Elohim of Israel, behold, I will punish the king of America and his land as I have punished the king of Assyria. And I will bring Israel again to his habitation, and he shall feed on Carmel and Bashan, and his soul shall be satisfied upon Mount Ephraim and Gilead. In those days and in that time, says Yahweh, the iniquity of Israel shall be sought for, and there shall be none. And the sins of Yehuda, and they shall not be found. For I will pardon them whom I reserve. Go up against the land of the rebels, even against it and against the inhabitants of visitation. Waste and utterly destroy after them, says Yahweh, and do according to all that I have commanded you. A sound of battle is in the land, and of great destruction. How is the hammer of the whole earth cut asunder and broken? How is America become a desolation among the nations? I have laid a snare for you, and you are also taken, America, and you were not aware. You are found and also caught, because you have striven against Yahweh. Yahweh hath opened his armory and have brought forth the weapons of his indignation. For this is the work of the Adonai Elohim of hosts in the land of the Aryans. Come against her from the utmost border. Open her storehouses. Cast her up as heaps and destroy her utterly. Let nothing of her be left. Slay all her bullocks. Let them go down to the slaughter. Woe unto them, for their day is come, the time of their visitation. The voice of them that flee and escape out of the land of America, to declare in Zion the vengeance of Yahweh our Elohim, the vengeance of his temple. Call together the archers against America. All you that bend the bow, camp against it round about. Let none thereof escape. Recompense her according to her work. According to all that she have done, do unto her. For she have been proud against Yahweh, against the Holy One of Israel.
So when the decree go forth and we see these things come to pass and folks start getting up out of here and we decide that, well, I want to stay. I don't want to go no place else. I want to stay right here in America. Ain't that what happened down in Louisiana? Okay, go ahead and read, bro.
Verse.
Up in verse 25 where it says he's opened his armory and brought forth the weapons of his indignation, isn't, all these elements, weather elements, part of his weapons?
Right.
People don't obviously attribute to Yahweh at all.
Right. They say this is nature. That's not Yahweh. You see, when you look around at the things that are happening and has happening, every time something disaster happen, we have to remember that a bird don't fall to the ground without Yahweh saying so. And when he opened up his armory and bring out all these treasures, his treasures is the nature. All of the things that's going to happen and that we're going to read later on, all of these going to happen because of things that's going to come through nature. See, and this is what we have to understand, that Yahweh is wreaking havoc all over this earth. And it didn't just start it. It started back when, y'all remember when all the rivers on one side of the country flooded during about 4 or 5 years ago. All the rivers on one side of the country flooded in the spring, and then in the winter, all the rivers on the other side flooded, right? And they still had fires burning all out in California, Arizona, and all that. Yahweh's treasure. Yahweh is wreaking havoc upon America because of what she's done to us. We just don't see it. See, we waiting for some angel to stand up in the sky that we can see and let him throw something in the sky, and then we see it go and blow up something. When Yahweh open up his treasure is going to come to us through the forces of what man calls nature. But it's not really nature. It's the power of Yahweh being wreaked upon mankind because they're not calling upon the true and living God. And a lot of us is not calling upon them in truth and in righteousness, because a lot of us, we end up doing just what we want to do and come in here on the Sabbath day and sit out and cry all over the blessings and curses and think everything's going to be all right, but it's not. Okay.
Plus, do reading, I think, what you said with the starting Babylon, where it's like, I was busy, but I was not busy as a mind, the elements.
Of course, brother, when the man shows up on the scene, brother, we have been in the city of Zion at that time.
Yeah, it also states in Job 38 on who control all of this stuff. When he getting up where I think he's done this, the guys that was persecuting Job know that I control all this, the weather, the stars. So.
Right, he controls everything. Like he asked him, say, can you pull an alligator out that water there with a hook? Huh? Who made man? See, right. Who gave man the things that man's supposed to have? Who wreaks havoc? Who knocks man down and then standing back up again and say, live? Isn't it me? But see, we don't see these things. What we see is this. We see what's happening to us in our day-to-day natural life, and that's what takes up 90% of our time. This is why we're behind in the things that we need to be about. But go ahead and read it.
I can't make it life, right? I get to the grave, I make poor. When I met poor, I made rich. So you have to do, it's all things like that. But then again, you got to put it, you cannot take our thoughts, it's not Yahweh's thoughts, so you put it on the ground. Thoughts behind the heart.
Right. Like the brother said the other day when those troops was coming in there with those trucks, man, with the food and everything on them. So, man, you see how lucky we are? See, don't even consider that it's Yahweh's hand. Even though he's brought destruction, it's still his hand being stretched out still. Trying to say to the children of men, you need to curse your God and your king and find something else.
Yeah, you know what, the whole thing I'm getting out of that, I mean, from years and years, when calamity falls upon man on the land or whatever, the nations won't give glory to God, because you know what? They don't think God will do nothing like that.
Of course.
That's the problem. That's the whole thing.
Man, I heard
they won't do it. It's luck.
I heard a Gentile once say, man, well, Yahweh won't kill anybody. Yahweh wants everybody to live, but why folks dying every day?
So it don't make sense.
voice of them that flees. Who's it talking about? In verse 28, who's it talking about?
Israel. The voice of them that flee.
Yirmiyahu chapter 50, verse 30. Therefore shall a young man fall in the streets, and all our men of war shall be cut off in that day, says Yahweh. Behold, I am against thee, O thou most proud, says the Adonai Elohim of hosts, for your day is come, the time that I will visit you. And the most proud shall stumble and fall, and none shall raise him up. And I will find his cities, and it shall devour all round about him. Thus says Yahweh of hosts, the children of Israel and the children of Yehudah were oppressed together, and all that took them captives held them fast, they refused to let them go. Their Redeemer is strong. Yahweh of hosts is his name. He shall thoroughly plead their cause, that he may give rest to the land and disquiet the inhabitants of America.
And then verse 28 says, the voice of them that flee and escape out of the land of America, to declare in Zion the vengeance of Yahweh, our Elohim, the vengeance of his temple. Now you know what you're talking about? Okay. If they're going to declare it in Zion, brother, ain't nobody going to be declaring nothing in Zion but us. You can believe that. Okay. Go ahead and read, brother. See, we ain't going to have that melting pot in Zion. You can believe that. The scripture already told you every man's going to return to his own land, and every man going to return to his own people. Of course, you're going to have strangers that's going to live in your land. It's going to be your servants. But they're not, you're going to have to give them places to dwell in that land, and it won't be like it is now where you got us in minority. It ain't going to happen like that, brother. Everybody's going to be in Zion that's not of our nation. Then you can believe one thing: they're going to be servants. Yeah.
I thought it was interesting that they, those that named these hurricanes gave this one a black name, Katrina. The black hurricane.
Okay. How about it? Go on and read, Steve.
Yirmiyahu chapter 50, verse 35. A sword is upon the Aryans, says Yahweh, and upon the inhabitants of America, and upon her princes, and upon her wise men. A sword is upon the liars, and they shall dote. A sword is upon her mighty men, and they shall be dismayed. A sword is upon their horses, and upon their chariots, and upon all the mingled people that are in the midst of her, and they shall become as women. A sword is upon their treasures, and they shall be robbed. A drought is upon her waters, and they shall be dried up. For it is the land of graven images, and they are mad upon their idols. Therefore the wild beasts of the desert, with the wild beasts of the islands, shall dwell therein, and the owl shall dwell there, and the owl shall dwell therein. And it shall be no more inhabited forever, neither shall it be dwelt in from generation to generation. As Elohim overthrew Sodom and Gomorrah, and the neighbor cities thereof, says Yahweh, so shall no man abide there, neither shall any son of man dwell therein.
Excuse me. And you know what? I saw the aftermath of the atomic bombs that was dropped on Hiroshima and Nagasaki. I saw the carnage of World War II, Korean conflict, Vietnam, but in my whole life I've never seen anything like this, where a whole city was just covered with, I mean, in those disasters folks died off, you can understand that. 75,000 people died on Hiroshima. And then thousands of people died thereafter, but they were moved up into the mainland and the different lands. Here, what we had was a disaster happen, and people couldn't even get out of the aftermath of it. Now I've never seen people walking around as destitute as that was on such a vast scale. It kind of scared me to death. Y'all want to know the truth? Yeah, but go ahead and read, Steve.
Saying that, but also you recognize that those things that you mentioned, man was operating
understand that, brother, you have to go back into the creation. See, the evening and the morning was the first day. It was the beginning and the ending of a creation. It's the same thing with all the other days, right? It's the same thing with the children of Israel. We were knocked down and scattered, but there will be a regathering, you see. So, like you said, with these things here, Yahweh has his hand in these things here, not man. Man thinks he was dealing with, when they brought us over here slaves, man think he was doing something smart, but he wasn't doing anything but carrying out Yahweh's will. But because of that, like he told us, like you said, whosoever touch you, touch the apple of my eye. So Yahweh don't just do anything and let it stay out there. Once he does something, it's the beginning of it and the ending of it. It's just like it says, in the beginning, Yahweh, right? And then when you get in the new city, then you get in the book of Revelation, you saw all the nations walking into the light of that new city on the new heaven and new earth, and that is the ending of this whole system of things. So there's always Yahweh's always did a beginning and always an ending of things, brother. But guess what? Since he started dealing with the holy seed, which he always did, we have always, the people that's born now, the people that's born in these days and time, are to be the recipients of all the glory and honor that Yahweh has is going to bring upon the earth. We just have to suffer a little while. We'll never be great until we really, really suffer. And we aren't suffering now. See, we think because some of us can't pay our bills and everything, that's suffering. You just wait till you can't feed your family.
And you know, Ed, will show you that that capitalism and the greed is going to really eventually, it's tearing up this country. I went home on the 4th day of the week and I put some gas in my car. It was about $2.65, and about 2 hours later, it jumped up to $4.15 over there where I live at. And the State Patrol had to come over there on Riverdale Road and make them folks get off the street. It was a panic already going on. They was over there arguing and fighting about who was going to get in line at that gas pump.
Yeah, well, Brother Maisha called me the other day and told me, say, the station's supposed to be closing at 4 o'clock. You might need to get some gas, brother. And I couldn't even get in the service station. Yeah. And the gas was $2.69 on Memorial Drive, and when I got over here down the street from the church here, you couldn't even get in the service station. It had went up to $3.40 odd cents. Just that quick. How long did it take to drive from over there?
But it gives me
brothers,
bit.
And brothers, a lot of brothers, they out there standing outside their cars, fussing at each other, and everybody hot under the collar and so forth and so on. So these folks here getting ready to create a damn panic about gasoline.
Make you think about that Great Tribulation period with that whole war and stuff, right?
Right.
Think about it.
That's what I said. Just wait till our troubles really come up on us. We're going to see when folks start to try to get out of this country, just wait then you're going to see what Israel's going to do. Wait till Yahweh snatch the bottom out of this thing. And we know it's coming, so we might as well get prepared for it. We can do anything we want to. We can say anything we want to. But let me tell you something. Until Yahweh puts you down on the ground on your knees without anything, you ain't going to really depend on him. You're going to do just what you want to do. I do the same thing. Yeah, go.
Those two cities that was Mobile and Louisiana, they practiced that abomination, the broth of abomination, that gumbo and stuff like that. They ain't doing nothing bringing that stuff down here. They're going to be cooking it here. Quite naturally, but you could be there.
Brother, you might look in a bowl of that gumbo and see a couple of eyes pop up out of it. That gumbo was some nasty stuff, brother. All those, what the scripture call them, abominable broths. Yeah. And then you have busloads of people used to leave here every weekend going down there, brother, just to go down there and gamble and party and so forth and so on. I remember when I was a young man, brother, when they used to do that Mardi Gras, man, that was the thing. The Mardi Gras was held by black folks then. The white folks started getting into it in the mid-'60s, and then it switched everything you started seeing. Then the media came down there, all you saw was white folks in the Mardi Gras, right? Man, black folks been there. And when that king come up off that island out there, brother, and step on the mainland, man, black folks start to party. And party for a whole week or so, brother. And Mardi Gras was Mardi Gras at that time. I mean, everything was going on. You talking about, we call Nevada, Las Vegas, Nevada, Sin City. But let me tell you something, when Mardi Gras comes, yeah.
Anything goes.
Yeah, brother. Hell has no fury like Mardi Gras, brother. Go ahead and read, man.
Yirmiyahu chapter 51, verse 41. Behold, a people shall come from the north, and a great nation, and many kings shall be raised up from the coast of the earth. They shall hold the bow and the lance. They are cruel, and will not show mercy. Their voice shall roar like the sea, and they shall ride upon horses, every one put in array like a man to the battle against you, O daughter of Europe. The king of America have heard the report of them, and his hands waxed feeble. Anguish took hold of him, and pangs as of a woman in travail. Behold, he shall come up like a lion from the swelling of the Jordan unto the habitation of the strong. But I will make them suddenly run away from her. And who is a chosen man that I may appoint over her? For who is like me? And who will appoint me the time? And who is that shepherd that will stand before me? Therefore hear you the counsel of Yahweh that he have taken against America, and his purposes that he have purposed against the land of the Aryans. Surely the least of the flock shall draw them out. Surely he shall make their habitation desolate with them. At the noise of the taking of America, the earth is moved, and the cry is heard among the nations.
Okay, brother, in verse 44 it says, Behold, he shall come up as a lion from the swelling of the Jordan to the habitation of the strong. Once these Christians start moving pretty good over there in that Middle East and that in our holy city, and Esau trying to getting himself together to sacrifice to this last king that's going to come up, America's going to try to stop that stuff. And once they try to stop that stuff, she's going to be destroyed. Go ahead and read, brother. They ain't going to have nothing to, he said, but I will make them suddenly run away from her. Right. You haven't gotten country no more. What you got to fight for? Right. Go ahead and read, brother.
Yirmiyahu chapter 51, verse 1. Thus says Yahweh, Behold, I will raise up against America and against them that dwell in the midst of them that rise up against me a destroying wind.
A destroying wind, right? Go ahead, brother.
And will send unto America fanners.
What you think that hurricane was if it wasn't a fanner? What do you think those floods and so forth and those fires are if they're not fanners? Go ahead, brother.
That shall fan her and shall empty her land, for in the day of trouble they shall be against her round about. Against him that bendeth, let the archer bend his bow, and against him that lift up himself in his brigandine. Spare you not her young men, and spare you not her young men, destroy you utterly all her hosts. Thus the slain shall fall in the land of the Aryans, and they that are thrust through in her streets. For Israel have not been forsaken, nor Yehuda of his Elohim of Yahweh of hosts, though their land was filled with sin against the Holy One of Israel. Flee out of the midst of America, and deliver every man his soul.
Right. Don't be walking down the street like we saw those brothers, one brother over there, all this damn water. And this brother got a stove on a flatbed, putting the stove on. What the hell is he going to plug in the stove at? Huh?
But check this out, what the media said about America, man, about Bush them and all the people. They said they're more concerned with the looting than saving other people's life.
Don't you think so, brother? The looting is where Wall Street get her monies from.
I mean, what a man gonna do with the television when he's walking down the street with water? He can't plug it up.
Brother, Jake think ahead, brother.
What he gonna do with it?
Jake think 5 or 6 years ahead. I guess he figured he could store something in that water there and go back and get it. But they've already said we're gonna rebuild, but we're gonna build a leaner city. The government is going in there and going to claim a whole lot of land through that eminent domain thing, and you can believe one thing, it's going to be a whole lot of y'all that ain't going to be in Louisiana and the Big Easy no more. You can believe that.
Most definitely.
And just wait till they finish here in Atlanta. We see it. We see it coming. Go ahead and read, brother.
Yes, sir. Yirmiyahu chapter 51, verse 6. Flee out of the midst of America, and deliver every man his soul. Be not cut off in her iniquity, for this is the time of Yahweh's vengeance. He will render unto her a recompense. America have been a golden cup in Yahweh's hand that made all the earth drunken. The nations have drunken of her wine, therefore the nations are mad. America is suddenly fallen and destroyed. Howl for her, take balm for her pain, if so be she may be healed. We would have healed America, but she is not healed. Forsake her, and let us go everyone into his own country, for her judgment reaches unto heaven, and is lifted up even to the skies. Yahweh hath brought forth our righteousness. Come, and let us declare in Zion the work of Yahweh our Elohim. Make bright the arrows, gather the shields. Yahweh hath raised up the spirit of the kings of the Russians. For his device is against America to destroy it, because it is the vengeance of Yahweh, the vengeance of his temple. Set up the standard upon the walls of America, make the watch strong, set up the watchmen, prepare the ambushes. For Yahweh hath both devised and done that which he spake against the inhabitants of America. O thou that dwelleth upon many waters, abundant in treasures, your end is come, and the measure of your covetousness. Yahweh of hosts hath sworn by himself, saying, surely I will fill thee with men as with caterpillars, and they shall lift up a shout against you. He hath made the earth by his power, he hath established the world by his wisdom, and hath stretched out the heavens by his understanding. When he uttereth his voice, there is a multitude of waters in the heavens, and he causes the vapors to ascend from the ends of the earth. He maketh lightnings with rain, and bringeth forth the wind out of his treasures. Every man is brutish by his knowledge. Every founder is confounded by the graven image, for his molten image is falsehood, and there is no breath in them. They are vanity, the work of arrows. In the time of their visitation they shall perish. The portion of Jacob is not like them, for he is the former of all things, and Israel is the rod of his inheritance. Yahweh of hosts is his name. Thou art my battle axe and weapons of war. For with thee will I break in pieces the nations, and with thee will I destroy kingdoms, and with thee will I break in pieces the horse and his rider, and with thee will I break in pieces the chariot and his rider. With thee also will I break in pieces man and woman, and with thee will I break in pieces old and young, and with thee will I break in pieces the young man and the maid. I will also break in pieces with thee the shepherd and his flock, and with thee will I break in pieces the farmer and his yoke of oxen, and with thee will I break in pieces captains and rulers. And I will render unto America and to all the inhabitants of Chaldea all their evil that they have done in Zion in your sight, says Yahweh. Behold, I am against thee, O destroying mountain, says Yahweh, which destroyeth all the earth. And I will stretch out my hand upon thee, and roll thee down from the rocks, and will make thee a burnt mountain. And they shall not take of thee a stone for a corner, nor a stone for foundations, but thou shalt be desolate forever, says Yahweh. Set you up a standard in the land, blow the trumpet among the nations, prepare the nations against her, call together against her the kingdoms of Ariad, Menai, and Ashkenaz, upon a captain against her, cause the horses to come up as the rough caterpillars. Prepare against her the nations with the kings of the Russians, the captains thereof, and all the rulers thereof, and all the land of his dominion. And the land shall tremble in sorrow, for every purpose of Yahweh shall be performed against America, to make the land of America a desolation without an inhabitant. The mighty men of America have forborne to fight. They have remained in their holes, their might have failed. They became as women, they have burned her dwelling places, her bars are broken. One post shall run to meet another, and one messenger to meet another, to show the king of America that his city is taken at one end, and that the passages are stopped, and the reeds they have burned with fire, and the men of war are frightened. But thus says Yahweh of hosts, the Elohim of Israel. The daughter of Europe is like a threshing floor. It is time to thresh her. Yet a little while, and the time of her harvest shall come. Nebuchadnezzar, the king of Iraq, have devoured me. He have crushed me. He hath made me an empty vessel. He hath swallowed me up like a dragon. He hath filled his belly with my delicacies. He hath cast me out. The violence done to me and to my flesh be upon America, shall the inhabitants of Zion say, and my blood upon the inhabitants of Chaldea shall Jerusalem say. Therefore thus says Yahweh, behold, I will plead thy cause and take vengeance for thee, and I will dry up her sea and make her springs dry. And America shall become heaps, a dwelling place for dragons, an astonishment and a hissing without an inhabitant. They shall roar together like lions, they shall yell as lions' whelps. In their heat I will make their feast, and I will make them drunken, that they may rejoice and sleep a perpetual sleep and not wake, says Yahweh. I will bring them down like lambs to the slaughter, like rams with he-goats. How is Shishak taken? And how is the praise of the whole earth surprised? How is America become an astonishment among the nations? The sea is come up upon America. She is covered with the multitude of the waves thereof. Her cities are a desolation, a dry land, and a wilderness, a land wherein no man dwells, neither does any son of man pass thereby. And I will punish Baal in America, and I will bring forth out of his mouth that which he hath swallowed up, and the nations shall not flow together any more unto him. Yea, the wall of America shall fall. My people, go you out of the midst of her, and deliver you every man his soul from the fierce anger of Yahweh. And lest your heart faint, and you fear for the rumor that shall be heard in the land. A rumor shall both come 1 year, and after that in another year shall come a rumor, and violence in the land.
So you're going to hear a rumor coming forth 1 year, right? Then the next year you're going to hear another rumor and violence in the land, right? Ruler against ruler, right? It'd be time for us to get up out of here then. No doubt about it. You can get caught up in it if you want to, but you can't take your house on the boat with you. Okay. Go ahead. These cards we got, you might as well leave them where they at, because you ain't gonna be able to take them. You can't drive them cars on them ships. And we going into the wilderness, ain't no roads out there. Go ahead and read, brother. So if you get attached to these things, you might as well get unattached, because when we leave here, it's just like death. You ain't gonna be taking nothing with you. The only thing you're gonna be taking with you is the treasure that you receive once this country's storehouses is open, and they're gonna be robbed. And you ain't gonna be able to do nothing but that until you get into the land. But go ahead and read, brother. Except those that's gonna be purged out, they'll enjoy theirs first. Go ahead and read, brother.
Yirmiyahu chapter 51, verse 47. Therefore, behold, the days come that I will do judgment upon the graven images of America, and her whole land shall be confounded, and all her slain shall fall in the midst of her. Then the heaven and the earth and all that is therein shall sing for America, for the spoiler shall come unto her from the north, says Yahweh. As America have caused the slain of Israel to fall, so at America shall fall the slain of all the earth. You that have escaped the sword, go away, stand not still. Remember Yahweh afar off, and let Jerusalem come into your mind. We are confounded, because we have heard reproach. Shame have covered our faces, for strangers are coming to the sanctuaries of Yahweh's house. Wherefore, behold, the days come, says Yahweh, that I will do judgment upon her graven images, and through all her land the wounded shall groan. Though America should mount up to heaven, and though she should fortify the height of her strength, yet from me shall spoilers come unto her, says Yahweh. A sound of a cry comes from America, and great destruction from the land of the Aryans, because Yahweh hath spoiled America and destroyed out of her the great voice. When her waves do roar like great waters, a noise of their voice is uttered, because the spoil is come upon her, even upon America, and her mighty men are taken. Every one of their bows is broken, for the Adonai Elohim of recompenses shall surely requite. And I will make drunk her princes and her wise men, her captains and her rulers and her mighty men, And they shall sleep a perpetual sleep and not wake, says the King, whose name is Yahweh of hosts. Thus says Yahweh of hosts, the broad walls of America shall be utterly broken, and her high gates shall be burned with fire, and the people shall labor in vain, and the folk in the fire, and they shall be weary.
Okay, my brother, the lawlessness, paganism, and the audacity of this people shows them to be Lucifer's hammer that's beating our people openly in the sight of all the nations. And they have plotted their control, containment, and destruction of our people since 1612 when we arrived in chains. So because of their hatred shown to us, and because she tries so diligently to force other nations to live in a democracy, which is a broken down republic, surely this Protestant daughter of the Catholic Church and this whorish daughter of the Euro-Gentiles melting pot of Christianity must be recompensed for her deeds. This is why Yahweh has called and warned us, why we are taught to see her wickedness and to see the ways of her paganism and the signs of her impending destruction. Yet faith in Yahweh's word teaches us not to fear man nor the things that Yah is bringing upon man. Just believe that Yahweh have assembled and ordained that we should see the reward of those who destroyed our holy city and enslaved us and who now hold us as captives. If we believe Yahweh's words and his deeds among us, then we surely see that it's the time of Jacob's trouble that are upon us now that we are being saved out of. So being the salt of the earth, we must be ever mindful of the deceitful things of Lucifer's children, as well as the seductive evil spirit that so easily challenges the power of our morals and spirituality. If we know these things, then surely will for sins becomes exceedingly sinful. But to rather, Israel, let us worship Yahweh Elohim in great fear, having hope that we will serve Yahshua well in the midst of an evil and an adulterous generation, the generation whose time has already come. Revelation chapter 6 and verse 9 through verse 11.
Yeah, Elder, I want to say this too. Remember the scripture that says, when power that fell in saloon, right? Is it saloon? Mm-hmm. It fell out there because they were all righteous.
Revelation chapter 6 and verse 9 through verse 11.
And when he had opened the fifth seal, I saw under the altar the souls of them that were slain for the word of Elohim and for the testimony which they held. And they cried with a loud voice, saying, How long, O Adonai, holy and true, do you not judge and avenge our blood on them that dwell on the earth? And white robes were given unto every one of them, and it was said unto them that they should rest yet for a little season unto their fellow servants also and their brethren that should be killed as they were, should be fulfilled.
This is the period of time that we are living in now, the time of the fifth seal. Revelation chapter 12 and verse 7 through verse 12.
Yeah, you can see that coming upon a lot of the young brothers, man, because we get pulled over left and right, you know, taken to jail for many of things, and you know what can happen once you get behind them balls. You ain't shy of dying on the way to the precinct.
Brother, I got a son in jail. He's been out there 16 months. He's a political prisoner. They won't even give him a court date. Now, you talking about due process of law? 16 months? Yeah. 17 this month. Revelation chapter 12, verse 7 through verse 12.
And there was war in heaven. Michael and his angels fought against the dragon, and the dragon fought and his angels, and prevailed not, neither was their place found any more in heaven. And the great dragon was cast out, that old serpent called the devil and Satan, which deceives the whole world. He was cast out into the earth, and his angels were cast out with him. And I heard a loud voice saying in heaven, Now is come salvation and strength and the kingdom of our Elohim and the power of his anointed one. For the accuser of our brethren is cast down, which accused them before our Elohim day and night. And they overcame him by the blood of the Lamb and by the word of their testimony, and they loved not their lives unto the death. Therefore rejoice, you heavens, and you that dwell in them. Woe to the inhabitants of the earth and of the sea, for the devil is come down unto you having great wrath, because he knows that he have but a short time.
He know he got but a short time, 3.5 years. Isaiah chapter 14 and verse 12 through verse 22. Isaiah chapter 14 and verse 12 through verse 22.
Verse 12. How are you fallen from heaven, O Lucifer, son of the morning? How are you cut down to the ground, which did weaken the nations? For you have said in your heart, I will ascend into heaven. I will exalt my throne above the stars of Elohim. I will sit also upon the mount of the congregation in the sides of the
You
north.
see what he said once he got thrown out of heaven? He said, for you have said in your heart, I'm going to ascend back into heaven. I will exalt my throne above Israel, Yahweh's people, right? I will sit also in the mount in the congregation in the sides of the north, which is Jerusalem, right? I will ascend above the heights of the cloud. I will be like the Most High, having everybody worshiping him. And when the heavens open, that's what people are going to think, that the Messiah has returned, and people are going to quickly fall down to worship the adversary's devil. Go ahead and read, brother.
Verse 15. Yet you shall be brought down to hell, to the sides of the pit. They that see you shall narrowly look upon you and consider you, saying, is this the man that made the earth to tremble, that did shake kingdoms, that made the world as a wilderness, and destroyed the cities thereof, that opened not the house of his prisoners?
Is this the man? It didn't say is this the cherub angel did it. Go ahead, brother.
Verse 18. All the kings of the nations, even all of them, lie in glory, every one in his own house. But you are cast out of your grave like an abominable branch, and as the remnant of those that are slain, thrust through with a sword, that go down to the stones of the pit, as a carcass trodden under feet. You shall not be joined with them in burial, because you have destroyed your land and slain your people. The seed of evildoers shall never be renowned. Prepare slaughter for his children, for the iniquity of their fathers, that they do not rise, nor possess the land, nor fill the face of the world with cities. For I will rise up against them, says Yahweh of hosts, and cut off from Babylon the name and remnant and son and nephew, says Yahweh.
Okay, my brother. Things that will befall our people during this fifth seal will be only the beginning of our sorrows. This will lead to the war in heaven, Lucifer being dethroned, and he and his evil angels cast into the earth. Now let's go into Revelation chapter 6 and verse 12 through chapter 7 and verse 8. Revelation 6 and verse 12 through chapter 7 and verse 8.
Verse 12. And I beheld when he had opened the sixth seal, and lo, there was a great earthquake, and the sun became black as sackcloth of hair, and the moon became as blood, and the stars of heaven fell unto the earth, even as a fig tree casts her untimely figs when she is shaken of a mighty wind.
Okay, now hold your place right there. Now let's go to St. Matthew 24. St. Matthew chapter 24. Let me get there and I'll go where we want to go. St. Matthew chapter 24. And I want to pick this up at St. Matthew 24 and pick this up at verse 25, brother.
Yes, sir.
No, I tell you what you do. Pick it up at verse 15.
Verse 15. When you therefore shall see the abomination of desolation, spoken of by Daniel the prophet, stand in the holy place, whoso reads, let him understand. Then let them which be in Judea flee into the mountains. Let him which is on the housetop not come down to take anything out of his house. Neither let him which is in the field return back to take his clothes. And woe unto them that are with child, and to them that give suck in those days. But pray you that your flight be not in the winter, neither on the Sabbath day, for then shall be great tribulation, such as was not since the beginning of the world to this time, no, nor ever shall be. And except those days should be shortened, there should no flesh be saved. But for the elect's sake, those days shall be shortened.
Praise Yah.
Then if any man shall say unto you, Lo, here is the Messiah, or there, believe it not. For there shall arise false messiahs and false prophets, and shall show signs, great signs and wonders, insomuch that if it were possible, they shall deceive the very elect. Behold, I have told you before. Wherefore, if they shall say unto you, Behold, he is in the desert, go not forth. Behold, he is in the secret chambers, believe it not. For as the lightning comes out of the east, and shines even unto the west, so shall also the coming of the Son of Man be. For wheresoever the carcass is, there will the eagles be gathered together. Immediately after the tribulation of those days shall the sun be darkened, and the moon shall not give her light, and the stars shall fall from heaven, and the powers of the heaven shall be shaken. And then shall appear the Son of Man in heaven, and then shall all the tribes of the earth mourn, and they shall see the Son of Man coming in the clouds of heaven with power and great glory. And he shall send his angels with a great sound of a trumpet, and they shall gather together his elect from the four winds, from one end of heaven to the other.
Okay, my brother, I don't want to go no further than that. Now let's go back into Revelation chapter 6, and it says in verse 12, And I beheld when he had opened the sixth seal, and lo, there was a great earthquake, and the sun became black as sackcloth of hair, and the moon became as blood, and the stars of heaven fell into the earth, even as the fig tree casteth her untimely figs when she is shaken by a mighty wind. And the heavens departed as a scroll when it is rolled together, and every mountain and island were moved out of their place. And now listen to this. And the kings of the earth, and the great men, and the rich men, and the chief captains, and the mighty men, and every bondman, and every free man, hid themselves in the dens and in the rocks of the mountains, and said to the mountains and the rocks, Fall on us, and hide us from the face of him that sitteth upon the throne, right? And from the wrath of the Lamb. For the great day of his wrath is come, and who shall be able to stand? It isn't even time for the Messiah to show up yet. But what we see is this. Lucifer has manifested the same sign that the Messiah was going to manifest. Watch. This is the way he's going to deceive people into worshiping this man. Go ahead and read, brother, up to verse 8.
Revelation chapter 7, verse 1. And after these things, I saw four angels standing on the four corners of the earth, holding the four winds of the earth, that the wind should not blow on the earth, nor on the sea, nor on any tree. And I saw another angel ascending from the east, having the seal of the living Elohim. And he cried with a loud voice to the four angels, to whom it was given to hurt the earth and the sea, saying, Hurt not the earth, neither the sea, nor the trees, till we have sealed the servants of our Elohim in their forehead.
We have to be sealed. Remember Paul said, Brother Saul said, we shall be saved from wrath. So we have to be sealed from the wrath that's getting ready to come upon the earth. The first, the opening of the first sixth seal, that's Satan's wrath being poured upon the earth. But the trumpets and the vials, that's Yahweh's wrath being poured upon the earth. You're going to be protected from Satan's wrath, but you have to be sealed in order to escape the wrath that Yahweh is going to be pouring upon this earth. But go ahead and read, brother.
Verse 4.
Yeah.
At the point of Satan getting kicked out of heaven, we're being in the war, in the process of our exodus out of this country.
When you get thrown out of heaven,
Yes, sir.
you will be here. Yeah. Yeah. America won't be destroyed till later on. You're going to be here. Yeah, go ahead.
The sealing of the king, is that the same as what they had Mark's doing with the blood?
Huh?
The ram?
Same, just about the same thing. Just about the same thing when he sent the death angel through when we was in Egypt, and he told you put the blood on all the doors. It's the same thing, sister. The exact same thing. Okay. Go ahead and read.
Revelation chapter 7, verse 4. And I heard the number of them which were sealed, and there were sealed 144,000 of all the tribes of the children of Israel.
These are Yahweh's servants. That 144,000, these are Yahweh's servants, and these are the ones that's going to be sealed in this country here so that they won't, Lucifer won't be able to do nothing from them. They're going to be sealed before we leave this country. Go ahead and read, brother.
Verse 5. Of the tribe of Yehudah was sealed 12,000. Of the tribe of Reuben was sealed 12,000. Of the tribe of Gad was sealed 12,000. Of the tribe of Asher was sealed 12,000. Of the tribe of Naphtali was sealed 12,000. Of the tribe of Manasseh was sealed 12,000.
Now, Manasseh has Joseph's stick.
Mm-hmm.
So, of the tribe, this is why Dan is not mentioned in here because they sealed 12,000 out of Manasseh and 12,000 out of Joseph. Dan should be right there where Manasseh is. The redactor made an error there. But go ahead and read, brother.
Verse 7. Of the tribe of Simeon was sealed 12,000. Of the tribe of Levi was sealed 12,000. Of the tribe of Issachar was sealed 12,000. Of the tribe of Zebulun was sealed 12,000. Of the tribe of Joseph was sealed 12,000. Of the tribe of Benjamin were sealed 12,000.
Okay, my brother, I don't want to go no further than that now. Once the signs are made manifest, the nations will believe that their God has come. Now is the time to set the beast and the false prophet up on the scene to do their strange act of putting a man up for a man to worship. Jeremiah chapter 50, and read verse 1 through verse 7, my brother.
That's the man we speak about.
Yes, sir. Same man. The man of sin be revealed, who exalts himself above all that is called God, that he, as God, is going to sit in the temple of God, showing himself that he is God. Jeremiah chapter 50, brother, and read verse 1 through verse 7.
Yes, sir. The word that Yahweh spake against America and against the land of the Aryans by Yirmiyahu the prophet. Declare you among the nations, and publish and set up a standard. Publish and conceal not. Say, America is taken. Baal is confounded. Merodach is broken in pieces. Her idols are confounded. Her images are broken in pieces. For out of the north there comes up a nation against her, which shall make her land desolate, and none shall dwell therein. They shall remove, they shall depart, both man and beast. In those days and in that time, says Yahweh, the children of Israel shall come, they and the children of Yehudah together, going and weeping. They shall go and seek Yahweh their Elohim. They shall ask the way toward Zion with their faces thitherward, saying, Come, and let us join ourselves to Yahweh in a perpetual covenant that shall not be forgotten.
Praise Yah.
My people have been lost sheep. Their shepherds have caused them to go astray. They have turned them away on the mountains. They have gone from mountain to hill, they have forgotten their resting place. All that found them have devoured them, and their adversaries said, we don't offend, because they have sinned against Yahweh, the habitation of justice, even Yahweh, the hope of their father.
Yeah, we don't offend because they've sinned against Yahweh. Yahweh, that still isn't going to change Yahweh's word. He still has to keep his covenants with our Father. This is why he said, our sins and our iniquities will he remember no more. Ezekiel chapter 20 and verse 33 through verse 44. Ezekiel chapter 20 and verse 33 through verse 44. I think that's where I want to go.
Have we heard anything from the people over there in Tsunami Land, brother?
Mm-mm.
The one we helped out so much?
Mm-mm.
Have you heard anything from them?
Mm-mm.
Oh, okay.
No, brother. All that's dead now. They got a new catastrophe to deal with.
Looking for their gods.
Oh, yeah. Ezekiel chapter 20, and pick that up at verse 33, my brother.
Yes, sir.
I know one of the mega preachers out here got a lot of exposure this week.
Always do. Every time a disaster come up, we think it's something bad come up, we got some preachers that get them some fame. Of course we do, brother. That's what Christianity is all about, capitalism. Capitalizing on anything that come up that's detrimental to our people. Ezekiel 20, and pick that up at verse 33, brother.
As I live, says the Adonai Elohim, surely with a mighty hand and with a stretched out arm and with fury poured out will I rule over you.
He didn't say it was going to be easy. He said with the mighty hand and with a stretched out arm and with fury poured out. See, that's the way you got to deal with Jake. You can't deal with Jake softly. Because if you deal with Jake softly, what Jake tried to show you is that you weak.
That's true.
And he will take advantage of it. Anytime you show somebody that you got a meek and quiet spirit, like the scripture tell you to have, Jake gonna use that. Yeah. Go ahead and read, brother.
Verse 34. And I will bring you out from the people, and will gather you out of the countries wherein you are scattered, with a mighty hand, and with a stretched out arm, and with fury poured out. And I will bring you into the wilderness of the people, and there will I plead with you face to face. Like as I pleaded with your fathers in the wilderness of the land of Egypt, so will I plead with you, says the Adonai Elohim. And I will cause you to pass under the rod, and I will bring you into the bond of the covenant, and I will purge out from among you the rebels, and them that transgress against me. I will bring them forth out of the country where they sojourn, and they shall not enter into the land of Israel, and you shall know that I am Yahweh. As for you, O house of Israel, thus says the Adonai Elohim, go you, serve you every one his idols, and hereafter also, if you will not hearken unto me. But pollute you my holy name no more with your gifts and with your idols.
Either do it right or don't do it at all. That's all he's saying. Go ahead, brother.
Verse 40. For in my holy mountain, in the mountain of the height of Israel, says the Adonai Elohim, there shall all the house of Israel, all of them in the land, serve me. There will I accept them, and there will I require your offerings and the first fruits of your oblations with all your holy things. I will accept you with your sweet savor when I bring you out from the people and gather you out of the countries wherein you have been scattered. And I will be sanctified in you before the heathen.
Praise Yah.
And you shall know that I am Yahweh when I shall bring you into the land of Israel, into the country for the which I lifted up mine hand to give it to your fathers. And there shall you remember your ways and all your doings wherein you have been defiled, and you shall loathe yourselves in your own sight for all your evils that you have committed. And you shall know that I am Yahweh when I have wrought with you for my name's sake, not according to your wicked ways, nor according to your corrupt doings, O you house of Israel, says the Adonai Elohim.
Praise Yah. Isaiah chapter 35 and verse 1 through verse 10. Isaiah chapter 35 and verse 1 through verse 10.
Verse 1. The wilderness and the solitary place shall be glad for them, and the desert shall rejoice and blossom as the rose. It shall blossom abundantly and rejoice even with joy and singing. The glory of Lebanon shall be given unto it, the excellency of Carmel and Sharon. They shall see the glory of Yahweh and the excellency of our Elohim. Strengthen you the weak hands and confirm the feeble knees. Say to them that are of a fearful heart, be strong, fear not. Behold, your Elohim will come with vengeance, even Elohim with a recompense. He will come and save you.
Praise Yah.
Then the eyes of the blind shall be opened, and the ears of the deaf shall be unstopped. Then shall the lame man leap as a harp, and the tongue of the dumb sing. For in the wilderness shall waters break out, and streams in the desert.
In other words, there are not going to be any feeble people in the secret place in the wilderness then, is it? Go ahead, brother.
Verse 7. And the parched ground shall become a pool, and the thirsty land springs of water. In the habitation of dragons, where each lay, shall be grass with reeds and rushes. And a highway shall be there, and a way, and it shall be called the way of holiness. The unclean shall not pass over it, but it shall be for those, the wayfaring men, though fools, shall not err therein.
They called it the King's Highway. It runs from Haifa to Jerusalem. Go ahead and read, brother.
Verse 9. No lion shall be there, nor any ravenous beast shall go up thereon. It shall not be found there, but the redeemed shall walk there. And the ransom of Yahweh shall return and come to Zion with songs and everlasting joy upon their heads. They shall obtain joy and gladness, and sorrow and sighing shall flee away.
Amen. OC2, Hosea chapter 2 and verse 14 through verse 23. Hosea chapter 2 and verse 14 through verse 23.
Therefore, behold, I will allure her and bring her into the wilderness and speak comfortably unto her. Verse 15, and I will give her her vineyards from thence, and the valley of Achor for a door of hope. And she shall sing there as in the days of her youth, and as in the day when she came up out of the land of Egypt.
Now, when you go back into the book of Joshua and see where we went into the land, you'll find out that I think it's the 7th chapter of Joshua. If you go back and read Joshua, when we went into the land the first time, this is where we went in, through the valley of Achor. So we're going into the same wilderness, no doubt about it. Go ahead and read, brother.
Verse 16, and it shall be at that day, says Yahweh, that thou shalt call me Ishai, and shall call me no more Baal.
Right, you're going to call me husband. You ain't going to call me no more my Lord. Go ahead, brother.
Verse 17, for I will take away the names of Baalim out of her mouth, and they shall no more be remembered by their name.
Praise Yah.
And in that day will I make a covenant for them with the beasts of the field, and with the fowls of heaven, and with the creeping things of the ground. And I will break the bow and the sword and the battle out of the earth, and will make them to lie down safely. And I will betroth you unto me forever. Yea, I will betroth you unto me in righteousness and in judgment, and in loving kindness and in mercies. I will even betroth you unto me in faithfulness, and you shall know Yahweh. And it shall come to pass in that day, I will hear, says Yahweh, I will hear the heavens, and they shall hear the earth, and the earth shall hear the corn and the wine and the oil, and they shall hear Yeshriel. And I will sow her unto me in the earth, and I will have mercy upon her that had not obtained mercy. And I will say to them which were not my people, you are my people, and they shall say, you are my Elohim.
Praise Yah. Now, people talking about that the church is the Messiah's bride. Well, who's Yahweh's bride? Zechariah chapter 13, and I want you to read verse 8 and verse 9. And my brother, we're still talking about going into the wilderness, right? Zechariah chapter 13, verse 8 and verse 9.
Verse 8. And it shall come to pass that in all the land, says Yahweh, 2 parts therein shall be cut off and die, but the third shall be left therein. And I will bring the third part through the fire, and will refine them as silver is refined, and will try them as gold is tried. They shall call on my name, and I will hear them. I will say, it is my people, and they shall say, Yahweh is my Elohim.
In other words, he said, we read in Ezekiel where he says he's going to purge out from among us the rebels, and they will not enter the land of Israel. So we can very well see only 1 in 3 of the people that's going to make it out of this country is going to make it into the land of Israel. As we see Israel, that was good. As we see Israel, Yahweh Elohim has not left us alone to die in this captivity in a strange land. But because of his curses upon our fathers and the children not under the blood, his holy angels will deliver us from this land to a land he has made ready to receive his saints. Then will he command Lucifer's wrath to destroy Miss Liberty, the land of the free and the home of the brave. Revelation chapter 12 and verse 13 through verse 17. Revelation chapter 12 and verse 13 through verse 17, my brother.
And when the dragon saw that he was cast into the earth, he persecuted the woman which brought forth the man-child. And to the woman were given 2 wings of a great eagle, that she might fly into the wilderness, into her place, where she is nourished for a time and times, and half a time from the face of the serpent.
The 3.5 years of the Great Tribulation period, right? Go ahead, brother.
Verse 15. And the serpent cast out of his mouth water as a flood after the woman, that he might cause her to be carried away of the flood.
Right. Once America sinks off into these waters that she sits on, remember now, she sits on the Atlantic, the Pacific, the Gulf of Mexico, and the Bering Straits, don't she? When she slides off into that water, we can see, they talking about 50-foot waves, we can see something bigger than that then, can't we? A whole continent, a whole tectonic plate is being destroyed. A whole continent is going under the water. But go ahead and read and see what's going to happen, brother.
Verse 16. And the earth helped the woman, and the earth opened her mouth and swallowed up the flood which the dragon cast out of his mouth. And the dragon was wroth with the woman, and went to make war with the remnant of her seed, which keep the commandments of Elohim, and have the testimony of Yahshua HaMashiach.
Amen. Revelation chapter 7, verse 9 through chapter 8 and verse 7. Revelation, bring that about. Revelation chapter 7 and verse 9 through chapter 8 and verse 7.
Verse 9. After this I beheld, and lo, a great multitude, which no man could number, of all nations and kindreds and people and tongues, stood before the throne and before the Lamb, clothed with white robes and palms in their hands.
Okay, these are the nations that's going to be saved, right? Remember, Israel was already saved before the wrath was put, before the Great Tribulation period came upon the earth, right? Now the nations had to go through that Great Tribulation period. But go ahead and read.
Verse 10. And cried with a loud voice, saying, Salvation to our Elohim, which sits upon the throne, and unto the Lamb. And all the angels stood round about the throne and about the elders and the four beasts, and fell before the throne on their faces, and worshiped Yahweh, saying, Amen. Blessing and glory and wisdom and thanksgiving and honor and power and might be unto our Elohim forever and ever. Amen. And one of the elders answered, saying unto me, What are these which are arrayed in white robes, and whence came they?
You're right, I know about Israel, but what are these folks here? Go ahead, brother.
Verse 14. And I said unto him, Sir, thou knowest. And he said to me, These are they which came out of great tribulation, and have washed their robes, and made them white in the blood of the Lamb. Therefore are they before the throne of Elohim, and serve him day and night in his temple, and he that sitteth on the throne shall dwell among them. They shall hunger no more, neither thirst any more, neither shall the sun light on them, nor any heat. For the Lamb which is in the midst of the throne shall feed them, and shall lead them unto living fountains of waters, and Elohim shall wipe away all tears from their eyes.
Like I said, these were the ones that was not sealed, and all of these things that he just talked about is going to happen during the millennia period, when he wipe away the tears from all the eyes and so forth. Go ahead, brother.
Revelations chapter 8, verse 1. And when he had opened the seventh seal, there was silence in heaven about the space of half an hour. And I saw the seven angels which stood before Elohim, and to them were given 7 trumpets. And another angel came and stood at the altar, having a golden censer, and there was given unto him much incense, that he should offer it with the prayers of all saints upon the golden altar which was before the throne. And the smoke of the incense, which came with the prayers of the saints, ascended up before Elohim out of the angel's hand. And the angel took the censer and filled it with fire of the altar, and cast it into the earth, and there were voices and thunderings and lightnings and an earthquake. And the 7 angels which had the 7 trumpets prepared themselves to sound. The first angel sounded, and there followed hell and fire mingled with blood, and they were cast upon the earth. And the third part of trees was burnt up, and all green grass was burnt up.
Okay, my brother, now let's go into chapter 15 in verse 1 through chapter 16 in verse 2. What we're reading now is the destruction of America. Chapter 15 in verse 1 through chapter 16 in verse 2.
And I saw another sign in heaven, great and marvelous, 7 angels having the 7 last plagues, for in them is filled up the wrath of Elohim. And I saw, as it were, a sea of glass mingled with fire, and them that had gotten the victory over the beast, and over his image, and over his mark, and over the number of his name, stand on the sea of glass, having the harps of Elohim. And they sing the song of Moshe, the servant of Elohim, and the song of the Lamb, saying, Great and marvelous are thy works, Adonai Elohim Almighty. Just and true are your ways, you King of saints. Who shall not fear thee, O Adonai, and glorify your name? For you only are holy. For all nations shall come and worship before you, for your judgments are made manifest.
Praise Yah.
And after that I looked, and behold, the temple of the tabernacle of the testimony in heaven was open, and the 7 angels came out of the temple, having the 7 plagues, clothed in pure and white linen, and having their breasts girded with golden girdles. And one of the 4 beasts gave unto the 7 angels 7 golden vials, full of the wrath of Elohim, who lives forever and ever. And the temple was filled with smoke from the glory of Elohim and from his power, and no man was able to enter into the temple till the 7 plagues of the 7 angels were fulfilled. And I heard a great voice out of the temple saying to the 7 angels, Go your ways and pour out the vials of the wrath of Elohim upon the earth. And the first went and poured out his vial upon the earth, and there fell a noisome and grievous sore upon the men which had the mark of the beast, and upon them which worship his image.
Okay, my brother, now let's go into chapter 8 and read verse 8 and 9. Put something in your book because we're coming right back here. Chapter 8, verse 8 and 9.
And the second angel sounded, and as it were, a great mountain burning with fire was cast into the sea, and the third part of the sea became blood, and the third part of the creatures which were in the sea and had life died, and the third part of the ships were destroyed.
Right, Miss American Pie is in big trouble. Chapter 16 and verse 3.
And the second angel poured out his vial upon the sea, and it became as the blood of a dead man, and every living soul died in the sea.
Chapter 8 and verse 10 and 11, and we're beginning to see a good example of that with that red tide that's circulating around the coast of America right now. It's the same thing that happened when we was in Egypt and the water turned red, wasn't it? Okay. Kill off all the sea life, and we can very well see that America. He said, "I'm going to kindle fire in her cities that's going to devour her round about." Go ahead, brother.
America gonna be sunk, right?
Huh?
America gonna be sunk.
This whole got to go. Okay. Revelations 8, and pick that up at verse 10, my brother.
Yes, sir. And the third angel sounded, and there fell a great star from heaven, burning as it were a lamp, and it fell upon the third part of the rivers, and upon the fountains of waters. And the name of the star is called Wormwood. And the third part of the waters became wormwood, and many men died of the waters, because they were made bitter.
Right, and all of this is happening to this third of mankind over here, right? Okay, Revelations 8 and verse 12 and verse 13, my brother. Oh, what you just read? 10, 11, okay, 16 and verse 4 through verse 7.
And the third angel poured out his vial upon the rivers and fountains of waters, and they became blood. And I heard the angel of the waters say, "You are righteous, O Adonai, which are, and was, and shall be, because you have judged thus. For they have shed the blood of saints and prophets, and you have given them blood to drink, for they are worthy." And I heard another out of the altar say, "Even so, Adonai Elohim Almighty, true and righteous are your judgments."
Chapter 8 and verse 12 and 13.
Verse 12. And the fourth angel sounded, and the third part of the sun was smitten, and the third part of the moon, and the third part of the stars. So as the third part of them was darkened, and the day shone not for a third part of it, and the night likewise. And I beheld and heard an angel flying through the midst of heaven, saying with a loud voice, "Woe, woe, woe to the inhabitants of the earth, by reason of the other voices of the trumpet of the three angels, which are yet to sound."
Okay, chapter 16 and verse 8 and 9.
Verse 8. And the fourth angel poured out his vial upon the sun, and power was given unto him to scorch men with fire. And men were scorched with great heat, and blasphemed the name of Elohim, which have power over these plagues, and they repented not to give him glory.
Okay. Okay, my brother, I don't want to go no further than that. From the time the house of Yehuda arrived to the wilderness, the rebels among the saints will be purged and be killed off by this last Caesar and his false prophet. Then will the saints be brought under the rod of correction and under the bond of the new covenant, simply because mankind hasn't got long for his system to be upon the earth. But prophecy has to be fulfilled. Lucifer was given 2,520 years to rule, and he has to go ahead and do the things that well, Lucifer was given, the Gentiles, I should say, y'all forgive me for that. The Gentiles was given 2,520 years to rule, and they have to come to their fullness of worshiping a man. Revelations 9 in verse 1 through verse 12, my brother.
Verse 1. And the fifth angel sounded, and I saw a star fall from heaven unto the earth, and to him was given the key of the bottomless pit. And he opened the bottomless pit, and there arose a smoke out of the pit, as the smoke of a great furnace, and the sun and the air were darkened by reason of the smoke of the pit. And there came out of the smoke locusts upon the earth, and unto them was given power, as the scorpions of the earth have power.
Now understand that with the modern day war equipment they got, John didn't know what that looked like. So he describing what it looked like to him. Okay, now with him opening up the bottomless pit, you know one thing. Judah has already went into that city and secured that city. That's what's going to make all the nations come back up to Jerusalem to destroy us. Okay, go ahead and read, brother.
Verse 4. And it was commanded them that they should not hurt the grass of the earth, neither any green thing, neither any tree, but only those men which have not the seal of Elohim in their foreheads. And to them it was given that they should not kill them, but that they should be tormented 5 months. And their torment was as the torment of a scorpion when he strikes a man. And in those days shall men seek death, and shall not find it, and shall desire to die, and death shall flee from them.
In other words, there's going to be a 5-month period here on the earth where man, regardless to what happens to him, he won't be able to die. Now check that out. Go ahead. Now that's going to be deep there. We have folks receiving grievous wounds and different things, and then they still won't be able to die. That's going to be, yeah. Well, go ahead, brother. I can't even imagine that. Yeah. Go ahead, brother.
Verse 7. And the shapes of the locusts were like unto horses prepared unto battle, and on their heads were as it were crowns like gold, and their faces were as the faces of men. And they had hair as the hair of women, and their teeth were as the teeth of lions. And they had breastplates as it were breastplates of iron, and the sound of their wings was as the sound of chariots of many horses running to battle. And they had tails like unto scorpions, and there were stings in their tails, and their power was to hurt men 5 months. And they had a king over them, which is the angel of the bottomless pit, whose name in the Hebrew tongue is Abaddon, but in the Greek tongue have his name Apollyon. One woe is past, and behold, there come 2 woes more hereafter.
Chapter 16 and verse 10 and 11.
But brother, they won't have to make any horror films anymore, huh?
No,
See
brother.
a guy walking down the street with a hole in his head, huh?
Yeah, brother, you don't have to worry about
Eyes
that.
put out, one arm.
Yeah, you won't have to worry about that mess no more. Yahweh is a terrible God, whether we know it or not. And this is his earth, and he's going to do with it just like what he wants to do with it. See, we think, I don't see how Yahweh can do that. He can do it because he wants to. He is the owner of it.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, you know, earlier when we read, he was a wonderful counselor and all of this and that there. That's the names a lot of Christians put on him. I said, well, what about terrible? Oh, God ain't terrible. I said, Yahweh is.
They don't understand that, brother. Just wait till the Messiah come up. The slaying of the Messiah is going to be from one end of the earth to the other. Chapter 16 and verse 10 and 11.
And the 5th angel poured out his vial upon the seat of the beast, and his kingdom was full of darkness. And they gnawed their tongue for pain and blasphemed the Elohim of heaven because of their pains and their sores, and repented not of their deeds.
Right. Now the Pope got to get up out of the Vatican City and go into Jerusalem, right? Chapter 9 and verse 13 through 10 and verse 7.
Verse 13. And the 6th angel sounded, And I heard a voice from the four horns of the golden altar, which is before Elohim, saying to the sixth angel which had the trumpet, loose the four angels which are bound in the great river Euphrates. And the four angels were loose, which were prepared for an hour and a day and a month and a year for to slay the third part of men. And the number of the army of the horsemen was 200,000.
200 million people. That's a lot of people, man. Go ahead.
And I heard the number of them. Verse 17. And thus I saw the horses in the vision, and them that sat on them having breastplates of fire, and of jacinth and brimstone. And the heads of the horses were as the heads of lions, and out of their mouth issued fire and smoke and brimstone.
Now, understand this now. He's talking about weapons, what modern day weapons of war now. He's not talking about no freaky stuff. Go ahead, brother.
Verse 18. By these three was the third part of men killed, by the fire and by the smoke and by the brimstone which issued out of their mouths. For their power is in their mouth and in their tails. For their tails were like unto serpents, and had heads, and with them they do hurt. And the rest of the men which were not killed by these plagues, yet repented not of the works of their hands, that they should not worship devils and idols of gold and silver and brass and stone and of wood, which neither can see nor hear nor walk, neither repented they of their murders, nor of their sorceries, nor of their fornication, nor of their thefts. And I saw another mighty angel come down from heaven, clothed with a cloud, and a rainbow was upon his head, and his face was as it were the sun, and his feet as pillars of fire. And he had in his hand a little book open, and he set his right foot upon the sea, and his left foot on the earth, and cried with a loud voice as when a lion roared. And when he had cried, 7 thunders uttered their voices. And when the 7 thunders had uttered their voices, I was about to write. And I heard a voice from heaven saying unto me, seal up those things which the 7 thunders uttered, and write them not. And the angel which I saw stand upon the sea and upon the earth lifted up his hand to heaven, and sware by him that lives forever and ever, who created the heaven and the things that therein are, and the earth and the things that therein are, and the sea and the things which are therein, that there should be time no longer. But in the days of the voice of the 7th angel, when he shall begin to sound, the mystery of Elohim should be finished, as he have declared to his servants, the prophets.
Okay, my brother, chapter 16 and verse 12 through verse 16.
Verse 12. And the 6th angel poured out his vial upon the great river Euphrates, and the water thereof was dried up, that the way of the kings of the east might be
That
prepared.
the way of the kings out of Asia might be prepared to come into that Middle East to destroy Yahweh's holy people that has gotten back into the city and has secured that city. But go ahead and read, brother.
Verse 13. And I saw 3 unclean spirits like frogs come out of the mouth of the dragon, and out of the mouth of the beast, and out of the mouth of the false prophets. For they are spirits of devils, working miracles, which go forth unto the kings of the earth and of the whole world, to gather them to the battle of that great day of Elohim Almighty. Behold, I come as a thief. Blessed is he that watches and keeps his garments, lest he walk naked and they see his shame. And he gathered them together into a place called in the Hebrew tongue Armageddon.
Okay, my brother, now let's go into chapter 11 in verse 1 through verse 19. Revelation chapter 11 in verse 1 through verse 19. Judah's in the city, and all the armies are coming up to Jerusalem to destroy. So we got them now. We got them now. We already killed off all those that was purged, that we found in the wilderness. Now we got them jammed up in this city here, in this cauldron here. Let's go up there and do these folk a job. Go ahead and read, brother.
Verse 1. And there was given me a reed like unto a rod, and the angel stood, saying, Rise and measure the temple of Elohim, and the altar, and them that worship therein. But the court which is without the temple leave out, and measure it not. For it is given unto the Euro Gentiles, and the holy city shall they tread underfoot 42 months. And I will give power unto my 2 witnesses, and they shall prophesy 1,260 days, clothed in sackcloth. These are the 2 olive trees and the 2 candlesticks standing before the Elohim of the earth.
Now, you're going to run into some brothers from time to time that's going to know who those 2 olive trees are. They're going to tell you one is Elijah and the other one is Enoch, because they didn't die. Go ahead and read, brother. They're 2 angels. Go ahead, brother.
Verse 5. And if any man will hurt them, fire proceeds out of their mouth and devoureth their enemies. And if any man will hurt them, he must in this manner be killed. These have power to shut heaven, that it rain not in the days of their prophecy, and have power over waters to turn them to blood, and to smite the earth with all plagues as often as they will. And when they shall have finished their testimony, the beasts that ascends out of the bottomless pit shall make war against them, and shall overcome them, and kill them. And their dead bodies shall lie in the street of the great city, which spiritually is called Sodom and Egypt, where also our Adonai was crucified.
So you know he's talking about Jerusalem, right? Go ahead, brother.
Verse 9. And they of the people and kindreds and tongues and nations shall see their dead bodies 3 days and a half, and shall not suffer their dead bodies to be put in graves. And they that dwell upon the earth shall rejoice over them, and make merry, and shall send gifts one to another, because these 2 prophets tormented them that dwelt on the earth. And after 3 days and a half, the spirit of life, from Elohim entered into them, and they stood upon their feet, and great fear fell upon them which saw them. And they heard a great voice from heaven saying unto them, Come up hither. And they ascended up to heaven in a cloud, and their enemies beheld
Now
them.
you're going to run into some brothers and say, well, see right here where he said, come up hither, that was all the Christians going to heaven. I say, y'all done went to heaven 3 times already. Now y'all going to heaven again. I say, he was talking to 2 men that got killed. 2 men. Go ahead, brother.
Verse 13. And the same hour was there a great earthquake, and the 10th part of the city fell, and in the earthquake were slain of men 7,000, and the remnant were affrighted, and gave glory to the Elohim of heaven. The second woe is past, and behold, the third woe comes quickly. And the 7th angel sounded, and there were great voices in heaven saying, The kingdoms of this world are become the kingdoms of our Adonai and of his anointed one, and he shall reign forever and ever. And the 24 elders which sat before Israel on their seats fell upon their faces and worshiped Yahweh, saying, We give you thanks, O Adonai Elohim Almighty, which are and was and are to come, because you have taken to you your great power and have reigned. And the nations were angry, and your wrath is come, and the time of the dead that they should be judged, and that you should give reward unto your servants, the prophets, and to the saints, and them that fear your name, small and great, and should destroy them which destroy the earth. And the temple of Israel was open in heaven, and there was seen in his temple the ark of his testament, and there were lightnings and voices and thunderings and an earthquake and great hail.
Okay, my brother, I want you to go into, let's go and do the seventh vial, chapter 16, and verse 17 through verse 21.
Verse 17. And the seventh angel poured out his vial into the air. And there came a great voice out of the temple of heaven from the throne saying, "It is done." And there were voices and thunders and lightnings. And there was a great earthquake such as was not since men were upon the earth, so mighty an earthquake and so great. And the great city was divided into three parts, and the cities of the nations fell. And great Babylon came in remembrance before Elohim to give unto her the cup of the wine of the fierceness of his wrath. And every island fled away, and the mountains were not found. And there fell upon men a great hail out of heaven, every stone about the weight of a talent. And men blasphemed Elohim because of the plague of the hail, for the plague thereof was exceeding great.
Okay, so we can very well see that Yahweh had not only did he destroy America, but he's also destroying all the other nations upon the earth, all the cities and so forth of the nations on the earth, because now the next event to happen after that is the coming of the Messiah. But these things were written for our learning, that through worship and faith shown by the works of the Spirit in us, we know that through grace we will find comfort in the help we receive in the time of our great need. Because like a snare will the great temptation come upon the whole earth to follow sin. And if we fall away and become unclean through the lust of a carnal mind, how is it possible to be renewed in the spirit that we ourselves cast off? This is why a double-minded soul is unstable in all his ways, ever learning and ever doing the works, but never understanding the powers that be. But let us hear the conclusion of this matter, and next week what we'll do, we'll pick it up at the return of the Messiah. Isaiah chapter 32, and pick that up at verse 1, my brother. If Yahweh wills, we'll pick it up there next week. Isaiah chapter 32, and pick that up at verse 1, my brother.
Yeah, Elder, I feel all that raw from this stuff. Read it.
Right. Of course it is. Yeah, they looking for somebody to stand up with a shovel beating on stuff with it, I guess. Yeah. That's why they call her Mother Nature. Ain't that something?
Sacrifice for you, because they got this Jesus, so they want to pass it right when they stop. The death of the war, because of that whole passing time with Moshe and stuff, but they want to make us stop.
Of course. Isaiah chapter 32, read verse 1 to verse 20.
Behold, a king shall reign in righteousness, and princes shall rule in judgment.
This is what we are waiting to come upon the earth after the Messiah, Mashiach, returns back to this earth, right? Go ahead, brother.
Verse 2, and a man shall be as a hiding place from the wind, and a covert from the tempest, as rivers of waters in a dry place, as the shadow of a great rock in a weary land. And the eyes of them that see shall not be dim, and the ears of them that hear shall hearken. The heart also of the rash shall understand knowledge, and the tongue of the stammerers shall be ready to speak plainly. The vile person shall be no more called liberal, nor the curl said to be bountiful. For the vile person will speak villainy, and his heart will work iniquity to practice hypocrisy, and to utter error against Yahweh, and to make empty the soul of the hungry. And he will cause the drink of the thirsty to fail. The instruments also of the curl are evil. He devises wicked devices to destroy the poor with lying words, even when the needy speaketh right. But the liberal devises liberal things, and by liberal things shall he stand. Rise up, you women that are at ease. Hear my voice, you careless daughters. Give ear unto my speech. Many days and years shall you be troubled, you careless women, for the vintage shall fail, the gathering shall not come. Tremble, you women that are at ease. Be troubled, you careless one. Strip you and make you bare, and gird sackcloth upon your loins. They shall lament for the teats, for the pleasant fields, for the fruitful vine. Upon the land of my people shall come up thorns and briars, yea, upon all the houses of joy in the Georgia city, because the palaces shall be forsaken, the multitude of the cities shall be left, the forts and towers shall be dens forever, a jar of wild asses, a pastors of flocks, until the Spirit be poured upon us from on high, and the wilderness be a fruitful field, and the fruitful field be counted for a forest. Then judgment shall rest in the wilderness, and righteousness remain in the fruitful field. And the work of righteousness shall be peace, and the effect of righteousness, quietness and assurance forever. And my people shall dwell in a peaceable habitation, and in sure dwellings, and in quiet resting places, when it shall hail coming down on the forest, and the city shall be low in a low place. Blessed are you that sow beside all waters, that send forth thither the feet of the ox and the ass.
Amen and amen. So we see our calling, brothers and sisters. A lot of people don't know the things that you know, but it's the reason why Yahweh is teaching you these things. And one thing you will be able to say, well, I didn't know. So it's been said, so let it be written. Even so, come Lord Yahshua and save Jacob out of all his troubles. That's all I'm going to do today.
Hallelujah.